Howdy, welcome back to Wobble Enjoy Sports. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider to like the content and subscribe to the channel. But if you're a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. Last weekend, 7 out of 8. Who do you reckon was the one incorrect tip I got? Round number 20 is the start of the race to the finals for 2025. It kicks off this Thursday night from Suncorp Stadium. The Dolphins host the North Queensland Cowboys. The Dolphins come into the contest as $1.54 favourites. North Queensland are $2.50 outsiders. Let's look into the Dolphins team list news. Hammer returns at fullback. Jay Cavarillo has popped out to the Sting, and the halves remain as O'Sullivan and Katoa. Just a friendly reminder that Nikorima is out for at least another month or so. The forward pack for the Dolphins, All Blacks Tauha starts in jersey number 10, partnering Francis Molo and Jeremy Marshall-King in the front row. Lemuelu, Keeley and Kurt Donahue round out the back row. The interchange is Graham Stone, Josh Kerr, and Peter Holler returns to first grade. Wow, he hasn't played first grade in a couple of years now at the very least, and he actually was an is an ex North Queensland Cowboy. Just looking into the reserves now, Trey Fuller and Kenny Bromwich are a couple of names that stick out on the reserves. For the North Queensland Cowboys, at fullback, Scott Drinkwater, Jackson Polo comes in for Robert Derby, Murray Taulagi is the other winger. The centres, Burns and Zach Laybart. Purdue and Tom Dearden are the halves pairing this Thursday night. The forward pack, McKaylee starts alongside Griffin Neame, and Reece Robson is the hooker. Cotter, Nene, Edwards. Interchange is Lawton, Lars, O'Donnell and Hess. And looking into the reserves, you still got Temple Kalepo, who is out there on the reserves. North Queensland had maybe their best defensive effort of 2025, but still wasn't good enough to get the 2 points last weekend against the Bulldogs. And the Dolphins also went down to Shark Park and suffered their first loss to Cronulla. So both these teams are coming into the contest with a bit of losing form. Dolphins are still extraordinarily dangerous despite how many injuries that they have. Farnworth and Katoa in particularly. This could be a 24-all sort of a scoreline, I reckon. I think this will be high scoring. The last time that these two sides met also resulted in a 58-4 victory to the Dolphins up in Townsville. The away team has won every single encounter between the Dolphins and the Cowboys since the Dolphins were injected into the comp a couple of years ago. So that bodes well. That bodes well for the North Queensland Cowboys here. I think they're all relatively even across the forward pack. Maybe a little bit more experience on the interchange for the Dolphins in that regard. But yeah, this is a very evenly set matchup for Thursday night. North Queensland, they now find themselves, I think, 3 or 5 points outside of the top 8, sitting in 12th or 13th. So they need to begin their race to the finals this Thursday night, and they will get the job done this Thursday at Suncorp Stadium, winning 13+ against the Dolphins. Moving into Friday night footy, and there are 2 contests, and match number 1 on Friday night footy is arguably the game of the round. Cronulla host the Sydney Roosters. Sharks, they're $1.65 favourites. The Roosters, they are $2.25. Last time these two sides met was about 6 weeks ago in an Origin-affected game. Well, for the Roosters anyway. The Sharks, they were 100% full strength, but it was the Roosters who absolutely smashed the Sharkies up at the Central Coast in one of the more remarkable victories of 2025, or maybe even over the past couple of seasons. It was a shocking, like legit shocking effort from both of those sides, and the result as well was shocking too. For the Sharkies, there are no changes after their performance last weekend against the Dolphins. However, must be noted that Sam Stonestreet has been named on the reserves there, so could be a late inclusion for Mr. Stonestreet. And then for the Roosters, not a whole lot of changes except that Sam Walker, he remains at half, but his halves partner is not going to be Sandon Smith. It's not going to be Hugo Savala. Hugo Savala out with injury. It's going to be Chad Townsend, who plays 5/8 this weekend, so he does get another game against the Sharks at Shark Park as an ex-2016 premiership winner. I still need to see a lot more from the Sharks before I start riding them again. I know I said at the start of the year I thought they were grand final bound, and they're still very much capable of doing that, even though there's not going to be KL Iro for the rest of this season. I still think that they can make some huge waves. But the Sydney Roosters, man, at $2.25, they bashed the Sharks before. They've had their measure in years previous as well, the Roosters. James Tedesco is in magnificent form as well. I think the Roosters, if they can be better defensively, I think they can account for the Sharkies this Friday night. So apologies, any Sharkies fans out there watching. Unfortunately, I've got to go for the Sydney Roosters on this one. The second game on Friday night is from CommBank Stadium. The Panthers host South Sydney. Penrith, they are $1.37. South Sydney, they are $3.12. Lots of changes here for both of these sides, primarily for Penrith. Edwards is back, Jenkins, Alamotti, McLean, To'o, Talangi, and Brad Schneider. That is the back line. Nathan Cleary is out. He has been rested. Blaze Talangi stays there in the 5/8 slot. The forward pack, Liotta, Kenny and Lindsay Smith, Sorensen, Garner and Papali'i are in the back row. The interchange reads Dane Laurie, Liam Henry, Luron Patea and Matt Eisenhuth. And just going into the reserves, yes. So Isaiah Yeo, Isaac Tungo and Nathan Cleary are out for Penrith this Friday night. For the South Sydney Rabbitohs, Latrell Mitchell returns to action for Souths. Johnston, Tass, Duncan and Munro are the back row, or the back five, with Duncan playing at centre. Whiten and Jamie Humphries are the halves pairing. The forward pack is Totola, Kolomatangi and Havili. Back row is Aiken, Jacob Host and Jai Arrow. Interchange, Mamazoulis, Hubner, Kepi and Lewis Dodd. So therefore, Brandon Smith is out with an MCL. David Mawali and Campbell Graham also suffering another injury. So South still just picking up the pieces and trying to make it all friggin' fit. I didn't think Nathan Cleary would be rested, and same too with Isaiah Yeo, but that's obviously the game plan because Edwards and To'o were rested against Parramatta. They struggled a bit against Parramatta without Nathan Cleary, and then Cleary did come on and then weave his magic alongside Isaiah Yeo. Are the South Sydney Rabbitohs a sniff in this game? I think they are a sniff, minus Nathan Cleary, 100%. So you could find some value in an anytime try scoring market, I suppose there. Maybe Latrell Mitchell goes absolutely berserk. I mean, they nearly pipped the Melbourne Storm, South Sydney, a couple of weeks ago. They did defeat the Brisbane Broncos a couple of months ago as well. And they were suffering all sorts of injuries. So there's a sniff here for South, but I can't go past Penrith, who remarkably are on track to feature in finals again, and possibly be a part of or create arguably the greatest premiership in history. Penrith Panthers 1-12 this Friday night. Super Saturday has 3 contests. First game is Canberra versus Parramatta. Raiders, they are $1.19. The Parramatta Eels, $4.75. You can imagine that the Raiders backline is pretty much the same. Jed Stewart is still there on the wing as Tamale recovers from injury. The forward pack is Papali'i, Tarpany and Starling in the front row. Young, Hosking and Horsburgh in the back row. The interchange, Paddy, Sasangi, Smithies and Mariota, and Ethan Sanders, Danny Levi floating around there in the reserves. Moving into the Parramatta Eels now, who were pretty decent for the first half, and then it just fell away from them, unfortunately. Isaiah Yongi, Lomax, Simonson, Russell, Fox, Joash Papali'i and Dean Hawkins. The forward pack for them is Hopgood starting in the front row alongside Junior Polo, Riley Smith is in at hooker. Charlie Geimer, Jack Williams and Dylan Walker is the starting back row. Talon De Silva, Samrani, Duri and Tuavaiti, that is the interchange. Kautoga has been injured. He'll be out for at least 6 weeks, from what I understand. And Dylan Brown has been named as 18th man. So I think it is bizarre. It's bizarre how Jason Ryles is using Dylan Brown. But to be honest, I don't think Dylan Brown has done anywhere near good enough to justify his pay packet that the Newcastle Knights are about to lob at him. Jason Ryles tried to put Dylan Brown in at hooker last weekend and do like a Blake Brayley and try and just take control and tell people from the ruck where to go and where to be. And that just didn't quite happen for Dylan Brown. And now he's been dropped to 18th man. It's bizarre, but I actually don't mind it. Honestly, I just don't think he's done anywhere near good enough to justify his pay packet this year. And while I think styles makes fights, Parramatta, if they had Mitch Moses, this would be a really entertaining game with Brown still there at 5'8" alongside Moses. And I thought Moses was going to be an outside chance to make his return this weekend, but alas, no. Canberra Raiders 13+. Match number 2 is from Accor Stadium, the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs versus the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Bulldogs $1.32. The Dragons, they are $3.40. Lachlan Galvin is the halfback for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Toby Sexton is named on the reserves in jersey number 23. So they are, I don't know if it's full steam ahead, but Galvin's got it this weekend. The backs is Tracy, Karaz, Tawala, Crichton, and Renakama remains out there on the sting. Matt Burton is the 5'8". The forward pack for the Dogs is pretty much by the numbers. Jamin Salmon locks it at jersey 13. The interchange is Mann, Hayes, Curran, and Bailey Hayward in jersey number 17. Tupanua and Saluka Fafita, Curtis Moran, they are some names that have been selected on the reserves. So there still might be a couple of swaps and changes before kickoff this weekend. For the St. George Illawarra Dragons, it doesn't look like that there's any changes off of last weekend's effort against the Sydney Roosters, and it was a good effort against the Sydney Roosters. Helter-skelter first half indeed. Leilua, Sewer, DeBellin, that is the back row. The interchange for them is Little, Lowry, Stewart, and Michael Molo. Pacific Tonga, Corey Allen, and even Lachlan Ilias has been named on the reserves. This is a genuine sneak peek at what could happen in Las Vegas in round number 1. These two teams are taking on each other out there in Sin City in 2026. I'm going to tip the Bulldogs here. Look, it is fascinating, isn't it, to a degree, to see what Lachlan Galvin will do alongside Matt Burton with a fair income match together now. So I'm going to go the Bulldogs in this one. And look forward to the next Lachlan Galvin focused episode on NRL 360 next weekend. I'm so fucking sick of it. And the main event on Super Saturday is from Amy Park. The Melbourne Storm host the Manly Warringah Seagulls. Storm $1.32. The Seagulls, they are $3.42. Fullback is Nick Meaney. Ryan Pappenhausen has not even been named on the reserves, unfortunately, so he is still out. Kane Bradley, Howarth, Anderson, Coates, and Munster and Hughes are the halves pairing this weekend. And then the forward pack is relatively unchanged, and the interchange is Wishart, Kamikamitha, Lasati, and Big Nas as well. Moving into the Seagulls now, and I don't think there's too many. Michael Cheekham is an out for them. No, it looks like it's the same 17, or not the same 17 because they had the bye week in the previous weekend. So Tommy Turbo is still playing in the centres. Look, back in the day, even last year, I'd still look down at this camera and say that Storm and Manly is a rivalry. It's something that I grew up on or with, and for a long time, long time, it was a storied rivalry. And I think there's just been a little bit of air that's come out of that balloon over the past little while. Even though Manly have defeated the Storm maybe twice over the past 3 seasons or thereabouts, I just don't think there's that much venom there anymore. I think it's gone a little bit cold in that regard. But in any way, that's a little bit of history talk. I still am a little nostalgic for Storm and Sea Eagles games, but I think a little bit of air has come out of the balloon in recent times. I just can't trust Manly. They could get fired up for this game, but legit, they've taken on the Tigers and the South Sydney Rabbitohs, who have both been utterly depleted, and they've bullied them, flat track bullied them, sorry to say. I can't trust them. They're not coming in with the greatest of form. They're coming in with winning form, but not great form. I'm going to go the Storm to win this game 13+. Sunday, we're at Leichhardt Oval. West Tigers versus the Gold Coast Titans. The Tigers come into the game as favourites, $1.54. The Titans, they are $2.50. Some of the outs here for the West Tigers. Samuel Afainu is out with injury. So it's Saifath Sukar and Adam Duihi locks the scrum, jersey number 13, after he was outstanding at centre, I think it was, last weekend. So the back line for them, Sunia Taruva, Charlie Staines, Stafford Toa, Jarrell Skelton, and Taylor May returns to first grade playing at centre. He's talented, so good to see him back, I guess. See how he goes. The forward pack, just went over that with Twile and May starting. Tristan Hope, Sione Fainu, Fanua Pole, and Jack Bird round out the interchange. Brent Naden is also floating around there as well. So he's coming back from injury, so that's fantastic to see. And then going into the Gold Coast Titans now, their backline after last weekend's effort against the Broncos is unchanged. Their forward pack is also unchanged. The interchange, Cam Pereira in jersey number 14. Okay, jersey 14, Jolliffe, David Fafita, and Khaleesi Haas is there as well, with Tom Weaver named in the reserves for the Titans. Sure, the Titans defensively showed a little bit more stout. They were able to stay in the grind for approximately 65 minutes. But yeah, their ball handling in that first half in particularly was dreadful from both sides. That was that was an awful game. The West Tigers, though, they were okay against the Warriors. It's still a loss and it's still naturally disappointing, but they were okay against the Wars. It's a little bit hard to tip because I think the Titans have won something like 4 out of the past 5 or 6 games in Sydney against the West Tigers. They have a decent record at Leichhardt Oval, and the same thing could be said about Campbelltown, but primarily Leichhardt Oval, the Titans do show up and snatch the upset victories against the Tigers. So, no, this isn't just an open, shut case. This is a bit of a 50-50 game, and there's some value there on the Titans, but I think just back at the 8th wonder of the world, the Tigers, who they've been unlucky in some losses. They were poor over the past couple of 6 weeks on a couple of occasions, but by and large, there's still an improvement over the past 3 seasons. So I'm going to go the West Tigers to win this game in a very, very, very close one, 1-12. And finally, on Sunday, from McDonald Jones Stadium, the Newcastle Knights host the New Zealand Warriors. Knights, $2.79. The Warriors are $1.45. Wind the clock back. Dane Gagai is the fullback this weekend. On the Stings is Marzu and Young. Fletcher Hunt and Bradman Best are the centres. Hastings and Cogger are the halves pairing. Saifidi, Leo Thompson and Brayley are the front row. The back row is Jones, Kai Pearce-Paul and Crossland, and the interchange reads Gamble, Croker, Frizzell coming off the bench, and Jermaine McEwen, with James Schiller also named on the reserves. For the New Zealand Warriors, Tane Tuapiki, DWZ, Kirk Capewell is in the centres because Rocco Berry is pretty much out for the rest of the year with a shoulder injury that keeps him out for 6 weeks. I think if they make finals, I don't think Berry will squeeze in, unfortunately. Chanel Harris-Tavita and Tanner Boyd, they are the halves pairing for the Wires. The forward pack, Jackson Ford plays up at prop alongside James Fisher-Harris this weekend. Halasima, Niokore, Clark, back row, and the interchange is Martin, Tamare Martin, Laban Vamalga and Stowers Smith. Samuel Healy and Bunty Afoa are floating around there as well for the New Zealand Warriors. Credit to the Knights for sticking with the Melbourne Storm for the first half, but then just faded, unfortunately, in that second half. New Zealand Warriors were involved in a tough game, at least in the first half anyway, and then they had some class about them in the second half. And I said it with Terry on the Rugby League Outlaws, that the New Zealand Warriors have finally adopted the next man up mentality. This team still without, we're meant to be Tohu Harris and Sean Johnson. There's still injuries. Metcalf, it's really remarkable what they're still doing. I still think that come finals time, I think they're a massive danger of going out in straight sets if they do make the top four. Just with, they've had to work so hard to get into finals and stay in fourth that maybe just there might not be any energy left. But they keep proving me wrong. They keep proving a hell of a lot of other people wrong as well. And they just keep on playing class defense and class attack as well. And much congratulations to Tanner Boyd as well. So he's steering the ship for the rest of the year. And to maybe sit here and say that he'll be playing finals in week one is unreal for him. We would all be absolutely over the moon. I think the Warriors do go to Newcastle. They don't have a great record in Newcastle from what I understand or remember. Don't take the Knights lightly at any rate. But I'm going to go the New Zealand Warriors to win a close one, 1-12. Hey guys, thank you very much for taking the time to listen and watch this episode. Rugby League 26, the video game, is coming out tomorrow. So Dolphins and Cowboys are playing tomorrow night. I don't think anybody's going to be watching that freaking game. So, wowee. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Rugby League 26, and will I get it? I don't know. I just don't know what kind of freaking time I have these days.